Welcome. You're listening to Nuditea, a podcast where we get naked with our feelings while drinking tea. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Wendy. And on this podcast, we talk about our feelings about adult life, female life. We like travel, food. In this episode, we're talking about relationships. And probably one of the biggest stressors that comes with being in a relatively new or new-ish relationship. But before we get into that, what tea are we drinking?
Yes, I'm drinking Tim Hortons brand green tea because I'm probably not going to drink any of it and I didn't want to waste any good tea. So.
Yeah, we should have prefaced that by saying it's too hot and we're probably not gonna drink any of this tea. I made peppermint because I was like peppermint's like cooling. Mint tea is cooling and refreshing, but it's so hot.
It says the girl who drinks nothing cold. It's either lukewarm or
that's true.
Just so hot.
I mean, when it's this hot, I at least try to let my tea cool down a bit, but this is fresh out of the kettle, so this might be too much. Anyway, so I've got peppermint. Kim's got Tim Hortons green tea.
Green tea, the stuff
both are solid.
I took before I was done, so it was free.
Yeah. Okay, so what we wanted to talk about today was saying I love you for the first time in a relationship. I feel like this has come up in both my own experiences, my own feelings, my own stresses, and also talking with friends recently, I guess. I've been thinking about this a lot more because it's come up with certain friends. If you're listening, you know who you are. I wanted to talk about this because I feel like the perspective or how we think about saying I love you in a relationship needs to be changed. I want there to be a huge paradigm shift when we're talking about the idea of loving someone in relationships and what that means and what saying those three words actually entails. Any thoughts?
Do you think the way I love you is perceived now or in our parents' generation comes from the idea that when you actually fall in love, that's the person you're probably going to marry?
Ooh.
And so it was always big? Or is it just a projection from movies and TV? They always make this big thing and then someone says it and then the other person
running after you in the rain.
In the whole episode,
it's
they're mad at the other person because they didn't say it. It's a big TV trope. And
I never thought about that. Like, historically, it's not like people had a lot of opportunities to date around a whole bunch before settling down. So usually when you say I love you, that's kind of it. Like, I love you, let's get married. That was kind of the progression.
You're already married and you have to learn to love each other, and then you're like, oh, I love you, and that's a big moment in maybe a possible arranged marriage and stuff like that.
True. No, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point. I think that has built up to what a lot of people view saying I love you in relationships now, because it seems like I just don't understand why it's such a huge deal. I just don't understand why people have such a sense of fear surrounding it, because it's not, if you're in love, then you should be on cloud 9. You should be so happy. It should be a very sweet time for you. But you're dealing with these feelings of like rejection and just all these fears that come with rejection, basically. And I feel like that makes things not as enjoyable.
I think people don't love being either the first to say I love you or saying it too early because they want their partner to be hopefully on the same level that they're at, and it might just be, I'm gonna go with sad, when you realize that, oh, I thought we were on the same level, but we're not. However, I don't think it matters if nowadays, I wouldn't care. Like, if you love someone, you can tell them, and then just be okay with them either coming to terms with it later and realizing it later, or never coming to it, and then you've learned that, oh, maybe we shouldn't be together. If that person can't eventually love you, I think you just, like, efficiently cut down that relationship time. You didn't waste any time.
Here's the thing, though, about being on the same page as your partner, because you said that when you say I love you, kind of, you're hoping, I mean, everyone
kind of
hopes.
Know,
yeah, like you're always hoping that the person is going to reciprocate and be like, oh, I love you too. Of course, that's a thing. But I think that's a part of the reason why I have an issue with how people perceive I love you, because does it really matter? that you want the other person to be on the same page? Or does saying I love you just mean that you want to tell this person you're with that you love them? And should we really be expecting so much from our partner in return if it's something that we feel? Like, I feel like, sure, it would be great if they said it back. Of course, that would feel amazing. But at the same time, it's like, these are your feelings. You're just telling someone how you feel about them. And why not? Why wouldn't you want to tell someone that you feel this way about them, even if it's a little early on? Maybe this is just me because you know me in relationships. I'm like 3 months in, I'm ready to like get married and have kids if I feel like this is where it's going. So I'm a very like early, I'm
but
mentally
you're also
just...
okay with being in a relationship for a long time, being like, this is not going to end in marriage.
Yeah, and but in that situation, then I'm like, I don't love this person, so I feel no pressure whatsoever in being like, oh, is it time to like say I love you? Like, do they love me? Are we on the same page? Like, I'm very clear on where I'm at in the relationship, so I feel happy in my position.
Well, okay, we can talk about how saying I love you as the female,
Yes.
females tend to wait until the male partner says it. That is just, that's also a TV trope.
Alternatively, they wait until the male says it, even though they felt it for a while.
Yeah.
Alternatively, they overthink the crap out of it and spend a lot of time like over analyzing what the other person is doing in the relationship to be like, oh, are they on the same page? Does he feel this way about me? And then they're like, okay, you know what? I need to know, so I need to like have this talk with him. And then it becomes a super high stress situation where now, because you've invested so much emotional energy into it, it feels like if you don't get anything back, it's a huge letdown. And I feel like I want to normalize saying I love you in relationships when it's I love you for the first time. Because I feel like once you've said it and then you've established your ground, it's kind of like, oh, talk to you later, I love you on the phone, or, you know, leaving to go different ways. Yeah, go out for some time, or like, love you, bye. It becomes very casual and doesn't feel like a big deal at all. And I want that to be carried into the first time people say I love you. Because it feels good, and you're just letting them know. So why can't it be like that?
And I think it's good that sometimes if you so again, coming from the female perspective, if you say I love you to a guy and he's like, oh,
shit, I never even thought about that.
Some people, it doesn't even have to be males, some people don't know how to process feelings that they're feeling until someone says I love you.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, they love me, and then they think about it and they actually sit down and they like kind of mull it over, and then they figure out, oh, I guess what I'm feeling is love. So this
alternatively, they're like, oh, I don't think I'm there yet, but like that doesn't mean I don't care about you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I think you're right, because we are overthinkers, or I guess I'm generalizing, but when the female says I love you in a relationship, there's a lot of overthinking involved. But a lot of our overthinking is so one-sided because our male or whatever counterparts may not be thinking about this literally at all. Like, they may not have ever crossed their mind that they need to consider, oh, what are these feelings that I'm feeling? Do I like her? Do I like her? Do I want to tell her I love you? What is love?
Not too much copyright stuff.
My terrible singing gets copyrighted. I'd be shocked. So yeah, I feel like sometimes when people say I love you and it's not reciprocated, don't take it too much to heart. A lot of the time I feel like it's just because they haven't thought about it as often or as much as you have, which is also not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just
let them
brains.
process it, and then eventually they realize, oh, I'm never going to love you again. Like, that could be a healthy point to end the relationship, and you might not be like 3 years down the line
still waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or they need that time to figure out if what they're feeling is love or comparable to love. Because I don't know, for someone who hasn't thought about it before, how do you really know if you're in love? That's a very tough question.
The definition of love and what it is
it's different for everyone.
So
first of all, it's very objective. Like, there's different levels of love. As you said, some people learn to love their partners. So I don't know. I feel like it's the first time you say I love you to someone, we're expecting too much out of the situation, and I hate that. I hate seeing people in anguish when it
Yeah.
should be a very happy time. You're like, yeah, you're dating. Like, what's the issue?
Even if you become really comfortable with saying it, and you're okay with saying it first, you're gonna be a little nervous.
Yeah,
But
because it's
that's
almost
normal.
like asking a girl out on a date for the first time. It's the same feeling.
It's every first
yeah,
in a relationship.
yeah.
It's like that. So.
Maybe it's because it's once you hit a certain age, you've kind of been there, done that, and then you're at the point where you're like, I know what I love you means to me, and that's enough. And you don't expect as much out of it.
Also, isn't it better to know that when your partner says I love you, even if it's delayed, that they mean it? Isn't that better than just hearing the I love you? And then later they'll be like, so I lied, or
when I said I loved you, I did that out of fear.
I still just meant I like you.
I just like you a lot, but I realized
Or they wanted to avoid
that...
an argument or
this and I think even though it's kind of a letdown if your partner doesn't say it back, that also means that they care enough about you to not lie to you just to get out of the situation, which I think would be the worst case scenario. And I don't know if this is something that I'm making up, but I almost feel like people who say I love you get it in return, but the other person might not actually feel that way. I wonder if that person can tell. And like how much that would hurt in comparison to someone who's just like, oh, like I haven't thought about it, you know? Like a fake I love you versus I need time to process and like let me give you an honest and genuine response. I feel like I would prefer the genuine response, obviously.
On a side note, would research to that?
Maybe. I mean, that's not quite her field, but it's very interesting research. I don't know what kind of research to propose.
Well, how would you even study that?
It's very qualitative. It would have to be like you
people's
give
stories
a bunch of questionnaires that are very
bring in couples
and separate them, and then on the scale of like 1 to 10, it would have to be a very qualitative study, which is always hard to analyze. It's hard to extract real like applicable results in those studies.
I do think I don't want to minimize the feeling of being in love or realizing you're in love with someone. So that's a pretty big step in a relationship, but I think we just need to approach it a little more laissez-faire, a little more just relax. Don't put so much pressure on it. Just know what you're feeling and make sure that the other person is taking their time to feel it too. So it's big, but also don't make it the be-all and end-all and have it turn into a fight. Kind of.
Yeah, or like an upsetting situation. It doesn't have to be a fight. It could just be an awkward moment. It could be some tears involved, some emotions. It could lead to a fight. So I have a question. If you wanted to tell someone if it was your partner and you wanted to tell them that you loved them for the first time, would you have a little bit of fanfare? Like, would you sit them down and be like, hey, listen, after thoroughly reviewing my feelings in the past 6 months of the relationships and through this PDF, I'm showing you that I do indeed have strong feelings for you, in which I will now call love.
Honestly.
Or would you do like a little like, I'll see you after work today, love you, bye. Would you like have a thing set up for it, or would you try to slip it in like a sneaky way of saying I love you?
See, I don't think I'd slip it in on purpose. I think it would just accidentally happen. Because even with my friends, I say I love you enough. I think it's
uncomfortable, guys. It's uncomfortable.
Wendy has a problem with it when I say it, even through text. And I also think I have to gauge sometimes with like my guy friends. They're fine with it, but
I think
there's some I say it more frequently than others, and I've just grown up in a family where we hug, we say I love you. That kind of thing. We're very close, and therefore I think I'm very good at judging. I think I've said this before, but judging like, okay, this person's not a hugger, or I won't be like super touchy-feely right as I meet someone, because that's off-putting anyway. So I do say, like, when I value and I appreciate and I'm really close with friends, I'm okay with saying I love you. I just shoot them a I love you text, or I appreciate you text.
So you think it would just slip out because
Probably.
you've probably already reflected on it and you're like, oh yeah, I do love this person, but instead of making like a deal out of it, you're kind of just like,
Or maybe
oh,
just
it
in the
happened.
moment, I wouldn't even realize, I wouldn't have even reflected on it.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
just said it. I don't
Kim's just like making dinner with her partner, just like, I love you, and then thattle be it. I think that's nice. I feel like
know. PowerPoint's not my style.
not mine either. I'm the sneaky one. I'm the sneaky kind, I think.
Yeah.
When I first said I love you to my current partner, I think we were just like snuggling in bed and we were just, I don't know, talking about grad school or something, and then I just like said it. And I was like,
Do you love me too?
That's what you said.
well, I mean, because I knew he was the one that I wanted to marry, so I actually like fully needed him to be on the same page, because I was like,
I have a 5-year plan.
yeah, exactly. Thank you for understanding. I was like, I have a 5-year plan that is moving forward at the appropriate pace currently, but if we're not on the same page, then I need to rethink my 5-year plan. I need to figure this out. So I kind of snuck it in there. And he was also
And then
shocked.
pressured.
Oh yeah. No, we talk about this all the time. I fully trapped my partner. Full on trapped his ass. Thank you, Ali Wong, for that expression, because it's so true for me. I don't know. I feel like making a situation out of it adds more pressure. And having your partner sitting down like face to face and just being like, I have something to tell you, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, that already gets me sweating.
What if...
Because it's just like, oh, either you're going to tell me you're like pregnant or we're breaking up or something. Like something's happening.
What if you didn't like sit them down and be like, I want you to know, blah, blah, this and this. What if you just said, okay, I want to do a little something special, since I think this is a pretty big milestone in our relationship. I'll take my partner out to dinner, and then I'll just like slip it in casually.
But that's also a casual thing, and the situational thing is in your mind,
you are
right?
planning it.
Yeah, but like the planning thing is for your situation, because they're just thinking, oh, we're going out for dinner. Like, I'm assuming most couples go out for dinner and dates once in a while, so this might seem like a totally normal situation for them. But to actually initiate a conversation being like, I have something to tell you, in that kind of, I don't know, environment, I feel like might be stressful for some people. Getting spooked. Yeah. I don't know.
Wendy's favorite saying when it comes to this topic, getting spooked. It's cute.
I just don't think it's bad to be spooked from that. If I hadn't thought about it and someone said it to me, I would be like, oh,
But that's because that's pressure. There's this pressure about like, oh shit, this person just said it to me, and I've been taught that I'm supposed to reciprocate it back. Again,
I'm obligated because I'm in this relationship. What does that mean if I don't? Yeah, so maybe it's like we're expecting too much from our end if we're the ones saying I love you for the first time. But for the other person, also like, don't feel obligated to lie. First of all, don't lie and be honest with your feelings, and take your time to like consider it. And then here's the thing: if it happens that one person says I love you, the other person is unsure or is awkward and uncomfortable, how do you move on from that situation? How do you move on with the relationship? Because like the next time you see this person, which I'm assuming you will, this did not cause a breakup.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get around that sense of awkwardness where it's like, I'm clearly on this page and you're on page unknown?
See, I don't think it'd feel awkward for me.
Okay.
I think it'd be like, because knowing me, and I'd be like, I'm gonna say this is what I feel, and I'm okay if this person doesn't feel it at the same time, and hopefully they'll figure out if they do or not at some point. Then it'd just be like, let's continue to binge watch our TV shows and
move on with whatever we
like,
were
you just
doing
continue
anyway.
to hang out and continue to
Do
date.
you think you would continue to think about it though? Like if you had said it and they weren't
I'm an
able
overthinker,
to...
so I probably would. I would hope that I'm secure enough in who I am that I wouldn't need this response of hopefully they love me back, or what does that even mean? I would hope that I would be able to silence the worry or the feeling of, oh no, what have I done kind of deal.
True.
But it's hard to know. I think every situation, every partner you say it to is very different. So.
Right. And then my follow-up question would be, how much time do you think it would take before you're like, okay, they still haven't really given me any sort of indication that they're going to respond or have responded. Do I need to ask them again about like how they're feeling? Do I need to test the waters a little bit? Do I need to figure this out? Because like if it's not going to happen, do I need to get out of here? Do you think there's like a time limit? I guess that's very dependent on your partner.
I think it's dependent. I would like to say like a soft 3 months. I would hopefully not be like dwelling on it too much, but like just revisit the topic. Be like, still feeling the same that you were 3 months ago, or
honestly,
progression. I don't.
Okay.
You love that 3 month rule, but.
Well, my 3 month rule is kind of like 3 months in, I decide whether or not this relationship gets in deep, or I back out a little bit and like do it casually or just stop it altogether. But I think the checking in thing is interesting because I feel like couples should do that regularly regardless of what stage in the relationship they're in. It's kind of like an emotional, a healthy check-in to be like, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's like what I'm feeling in this relationship. Even after marriage. I think after marriage, it's even more important to be like, let's make sure everyone's emotionally okay in this relationship so it doesn't, because things accumulate in relationships. Like our overthinking accumulates and
it all compounds on it.
Saying I love you or like not saying it back, those things add up. It's just a lot of interest accumulating. So I feel like the healthy relationship check-in is a great idea.
Do you have a time limit you would want to check back in with?
I think about this all the time because I did trap my partner, and I was thinking, what if had he not said I love you to me in that moment when I first said it to him, what would I have done? And I think, first of all, again, it would have been sad. I would have been pretty sad.
You would have been like, shoot.
Actually,
5-year plan.
I'm gonna really need you to
Yeah.
because like I've got this thing.
I meet my deadlines. Just deal with it.
Exactly. These are hard deadlines to meet in my life. So I feel like I would have given it another year. Yeah. I think that's because
another year to be like, okay, if you don't love me at this point, maybe we should.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was 24 at that point. I don't have all the time in the world to be messing around with someone who doesn't know yet, right?
Yeah. So when I was saying 3 months, that was just a check-in point.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I'd give them longer, but you were saying like 1 month. But when would you get back to when would you question them? Like, hey, how you feeling? Check-in point.
I don't know. I feel like because if I had said I love you and he didn't say it back, I probably would continue to like drop that in to like very casually, like making lunch. Here's your lunch. I love you.
Right.
Like very casually make it a day-to-day thing so he knows that I'm feeling this way still.
That's continue.
Yeah, and if he still hasn't reciprocated, I think a year would be kind of like my big check-in point where I would probably put a little more emphasis on like, I need your answer because I have things to do. Yeah. I have babies to plan for in the future and career goals and like things to set up. And that situation was different also because it was quite a new relationship for us to be planning all of these major life things. Honestly, I think it would have been fine if he hadn't thought about it and wasn't able to reciprocate. But a year would have been, I don't know. For me, I think a year is a lot of time for me to think about whether or not I love a person. So I'm just gonna say that's a good spot. That's a good spot for everyone because I said so.
So going back to you saying just make his lunch and he's off to work or school, like I love you. Would you be afraid you saying I love you maybe as much as you would in that situation would be putting too much pressure on them? Or they would get this internal worry that, oh shoot,
the accumulating
this
love
is a
interest.
Lot. I feel a lot of stress. Yeah.
Love interest is what I'm gonna call it. But that's the thing though, like that's what I want us to reconsider. Like I know this happens. I know that people get stressed if they keep hearing it. If it keeps coming up, then it's more pressure and it builds. But maybe that's like a separate note to give them when you say I love you, to be like, listen, you're gonna hear me drop this line once in a while. This is not pressuring you. I just want to let you know that I feel this way and I don't want you to say it out of pity.
I want your pity love.
He's like, oh, this bitch just keeps saying she loves me.
It'll be fine, I love you.
Are you happy now?
Yeah. Yes, it's great. Now we can move on. Where's the ring?
Yay! Yeah, that's definitely not not what I want out of a relationship.
So going along with this whole podcast is just talking about like the first saying I love you, don't put so much pressure on it, and even after the fact, again, the person who received the I love you and didn't say it right back, maybe don't feel that pressure if you keep hearing it. Just know that that's where they're at, and just, think about your feelings at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if your partner is like a mature human being, you should be able to get past this, no problem. This should not be causing any like huge ruffles in your relationship and just like taint the rest of your time with them. This should not be happening. I don't condone that. If you said I love you to your partner and they're being super weird about it after the fact, then it's not a good sign.
Have a talk, basically, at that point.
Yeah. Be open with your emotions. And then our dear friend Ben, who basically is our go-to guy
male
for
perspective.
Our bring in the male perspective. We don't need to call him this time because we asked him in advance. So Ben and his partner have been together since high school. Yeah, so they're 25 and they've been together since high school, which was like 18. Whoa, that's too old.
I think they're 8 years. Is it 8 years?
I don't know.
It's a while
whatever
ago.
math. High school, do whatever math you want. So they've been together for a long, long time, and we asked him recently when in their relationship, when did I love you? Yeah, who said it first? How did it go? What were your feelings? And he was actually I think he was very progressive in his thoughts. Maybe, I don't know if men experience a little less pressure in saying I love you. I don't know. Maybe it's expected in relationships that women always are like already
the first
there.
to love, but they won't say it until the man says it.
Yeah, so I don't know
safe.
if men feel less pressure already because...
I think we do, though.
Probably. It's probably like...
It's the same thing as like asking someone to marry you, even though you're 99% sure they're going to say yes.
Yeah.
But there's still sweaty palms and it's all that.
Palm sweat, mom spaghetti. Another copyright. So we talked to Ben about this, and he said I love you first, and I forget when he said it, but it was pretty early on.
Said like
was it 3 months? I'm pretty sure it was
3 months. Drink every time we said 3 months. Go back and re-listen or re-watch.
So you drink all of like 3 times. So he also said I love you first, and it was at 3 months, and I believe she reciprocated.
I think so.
And we asked him what would he have done if she had said no, or like what were his initial thoughts when he knew that he wanted to say this to her. And essentially he was just like,
I just wanted to tell her that I loved her.
like, what's the big deal? And I guess knowing them and their relationship, he probably also knew that she loved him. They're very cute.
Yeah.
So, no problems. Happy stories all around. Not everyone has a super happy story, but again, either you're the immature one and making a huge fuss out of it, so stop, or your partner is the immature one and they're making a big fuss out of it, in which case they need to grow up and you need to have a talk with them, or it's bye-bye. Those are all my feelings.
The love guru right here.
Suddenly, our podcast has turned into a relationship counseling.
Yes, I can't wait till you write a book about this.
Can I get Ali Wong to be my co-author?
Yeah, or she can write your foreword or something.
Ooh. She's supposed to be like, yes, confirmed, Wendy did trap her fiance.
So
I have read the transcript of their relationship. It's true.
So you just want me to @Ali Wong every single time and make a nudity podcast post?
Oh my gosh, yes. I feel like I reference her all the time. It's true. Blocked so hard forever. We'll never get our chance.
Okay, that concludes this episode of Nudity. Thank you for listening. You can listen to this episode and previous episodes on pretty much anywhere you listen to your podcasts, not including other podcast host sites like SoundCloud or Spotify, but Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Google Podcasts, I think Stitcher probably, Podcast Addict, a lot of them. Or you can also listen to it on the PodBean app at Nudity Podcast. At Nudity Podcast. And you can also see the filmed video version on YouTube under the same name. Wendy does the edits for that. And we also have a Instagram if you want to follow it. I post sometimes. Cool.
I love how we've just given up on telling people our email.
Oh, right. Well,
It's just, you know what? It doesn't matter.
It's there.
Podcast over. Bye-bye.
Bye.